Your account can be customized to fit your specific needs. To do this, you can go to the feature from the dashboard named Configuration and Settings. There's a lot on this page you can do, so let's look at each one of them individually. Some of this was already covered on other videos, but this will be a deeper dive. A few of these options are visible in the menu bar, but most of them are on the page itself. Let's start with the option to define custom fields. There are 8 already existing data fields that can be renamed. Reasons for this may be that your organization uses different nomenclature for grave identifiers, or some of the data fields are not used by your organization and you'd prefer to use that space for other purposes. This software, by default, uses the names, section, lot, and grave, for grave identifiers. Note that the software only supports 3 different identifiers, so if you use more than 3, you will need to merge some together, and we can help you with that if you like. In the spaces provided, you can overwrite the default names, but please refrain from using special characters and also do not reuse system or application words that are already reserved. You may receive an error message if you use a word that is reserved or not allowed. If you have questions before you assign your data field names, contact us for advice and we'll guide you through best options. Also, don't get too wordy with your data field names. Try to keep them brief or abbreviated, as these will be used for display on screen and on reports, and could make things unwieldy if too long. All 8 of the renameable custom field names are alphanumeric. This means the data contents of these fields can hold any value of data. The identifiers can hold a maximum data length of 10 characters. The remaining 5 data fields can hold a maximum data length of 255 characters. When you've finished making your changes, be sure to click on the Save button. Additionally, you can create brand new data fields by using the grid at the bottom of this page. To create a new data field, click on the link, Add New Field. Input the name of your data field, following the same rules as mentioned previously. Then, using the dropdown, choose the data type. Text is an all-purpose alphanumeric data field that can hold up to 255 characters of data. Number is for integer whole numbers only, having no decimal places. Amount is for any monetary value, showing 2 decimal places. Date is for any date in the range of 1753 through 2999. Finally, you can check a box if you want this data field to be for internal account. Be sure to click on the button, Save Custom Field, when you are satisfied with the information you have provided. Please note that you cannot delete a custom data field on your own. If you need to have a custom data field removed, please contact us, and we will perform that task on your behalf. You can, however, toggle the visibility of a custom data field by clicking on the link to the right of the custom field name. It will be either tagged as visible or hidden. Next up is the Cemetery Manager. There could be many reasons you might want to use this feature. One is if you simply want to maintain more than one cemetery location within your organization. Another is if you want to break up a very large cemetery for mapping purposes. Sometimes a large cemetery has different sections that run in directions that don't quite fit in our mapping feature as a whole and just look better when displayed as their own mini cemetery. Another reason you might want to create multiple cemeteries is if your grave identifiers are more complex or use more than 3 identifiers. You could create additional cemeteries to handle the additional identifier. This is all personal to the account holder and there are no right or wrong ways to accomplish any of these tasks. It is all down to what is best for you. By default, a cemetery record is created when your account is established. To edit that record, click on the link that says, Edit. Here you can change the name of the cemetery, or section of cemetery, and provide contact information. You can also provide notes regarding this cemetery, which can be used in other areas of the software. When you've completed this information, be sure to click on the Save button. If you no longer want to use the cemetery record, you can click on the Delete button, but please note you cannot delete a cemetery record if any data records are tied to it. You will get an error message if that happens. Next up is the Lot Type Manager. This is a bit misleading as our default grave identifiers are section, lot, and grave, where lot means a grouping of graves. But that's not what the Lot Type Manager is about. This is to define the grave dimensions and pricing. By default, a single lot type is created for you with a completely generic name, size and price. To edit this record, click on the link named Edit. Anywhere in the system that you see Sort Order, that is how data will appear in drop-down boxes. So if you want a particular value to show at the top of the list, then you should assign a low sort order value, like 0 or 1, and then assign other sort orders accordingly. Input a brief description of the lot type, which is really grave type, and the lot type size, which again is the grave size. Then provide the lot type price, which is really the price of the grave you would charge to a new purchaser. Once you've inputted the data, be sure to click on the Save button. If you no longer want this record, you can click on the Delete button, but it will only allow you to delete if no data records are tied to this lot type. Next up is the Purchasers Manager. Depending on how many records you have in your database, you may want to use the Rolodex feature and display only portions of this listing using the drop-down at the top of the page. This feature comes in handy if you have just sold one or more graves to a single buyer and want to more easily input the data than going through the standard data entry page. To get started, click on the link named Add New Purchaser. Here you would input the name of the purchaser and their contact information. When that's complete, click on the Save button. A grid will appear at the bottom of the page that allows you to input cemetery grave records for this purchaser. Click on the link named Add New. Fill in the information for the grave, as much data as you have available, and then click on the Save button when finished. You'll notice that not all of the available data fields are listed, and that is intentional. This is really just for quick data entry. When you get back to the page showing the grid, you can click on the link named Edit to further input details for the record if needed. Repeat these steps for as many records as you need to input into the system. From inside the Purchasers Manager, you see there are some menu options at the top of the page. The first option is to view invoices. This is a completely optional feature, but if you do intend to use the invoicing feature, you can see a listing of all created invoices from here. Clicking on the invoice number of an already generated invoice lets you see the details of that invoice in a new tab for printing purposes. Clicking on the balance due of an invoice allows you to input payment information as payments are received. Fill in the payment information and then click on the Save Activity button. Clicking on the purchaser name from this page takes you directly to that purchaser's details window, so you can review all the graves associated with that purchaser. If you wanted to create an invoice for a purchaser, you would navigate to the purchaser's record, and then in the grid at the bottom of the page you would check the box to Add to Invoice for each record you want added to the invoice. Then click on the button named Add Marked Records to Invoice. When the new invoice window appears, you'll see that interest and payment information are pre-filled. We'll get to that configuration next, but for now you would edit the invoice as needed and then click on the Save Invoice button. Another menu option of the Purchasers Manager is named Invoice Settings. Clicking here, you'll see that you can define how you would collect money from your purchasers. You can choose one of two options: fixed regular payments or interest calculated payments. Whichever you choose stays assigned and cannot be changed unless you contact us to make that change on your behalf. Fill in as much information as you can, contacting us if you need assistance, and then click on the Save button. The final option under the Purchasers Manager is the Deed Template. If you plan to produce deeds for your graves, you would design your template here. Please note that this deed template uses what we call keywords. These keywords must be in all capital letters and must be spelled exactly the way we have them listed on the right side of the window. When used, the data from your data records replaces the keywords. A sample deed template is already in the editor that you can freely use, or redesign to your needs. To edit the template, you'll see 3 edit boxes on the lower right of this page. They are header text, body text, and footer text. Anytime you use the Enter key to go to a new line will force the template to put in a line break in the display. You can also use HTML tags in these boxes, if you are familiar with that sort of thing. If you have questions or problems with the deed template, please contact us and we'll help you along. When you're done editing your deed template, be sure to click the Save button at the very bottom of the page. With the deed template configured, if you did want to create a deed, you could go into the Purchasers Manager and click on the Deed button next to any grave. You'll see that the data elements from the data record are used in place of the keywords. You can then print this deed, but you may have to edit the print settings to make it properly fit on one page. For example, I use Google Chrome, so with the deed displayed I press Ctrl P to initiate the printing process. If your settings are not configured properly you might not see the graphic frame, so click on the option for more settings. There's a checkbox to display background graphics. You might also notice that the contents flow to more than one page, and that's not optimal, so change the scale from default to a numeric value. Change this value until you're happy with the display in the sample window. In my case, a value of 80 is about right. My preference is also to uncheck the box to display headers and footers for a cleaner output. Then you can either print this to your printer, or save the result to a PDF file. Back on the main settings page, the next item is the Reports Manager. You create these reports using the reports icon from the dashboard, but you can't delete the reports from that page. If you created a completely custom report and want to delete that report, you would come here and input the reporting internal record ID associated with that report and then click on the delete button. If you intend to share your data with your web visitors, you may want to give them an introductory page for them to receive information about your cemetery, or instructions on how to navigate through your data. You do that from the settings page under the link named Custom Message to Read-Only Visitors. A box is provided for you to type any information you find necessary to display to your web visitors. When you're satisfied with this information, be sure to click on the Save button. Now we move on to the grid named Other Custom Settings. The first option is for the Please Wait message. Some users may not like that we show a Please Wait message for tasks that typically take a while to process. This is a personal preference. If you do not want to see the Please Wait icon, uncheck this box. If you don't mind seeing the Please Wait icon when the system is taking a while to process, check the box. The next option is how results get displayed. Checking this box displays results from searches in a new tab or window. If you leave the box unchecked, results are replaced in the already open tab or window. Again, this is a personal preference, so feel free to try it either way to see which you prefer. The third option is for the primary data entry page. Some data fields can utilize what we refer to as a prior data dropdown. This means that instead of retyping commonly inputted data, you could just choose from data that was previously inputted on another record to be also used on the current record. However, this comes at a speed cost and could slow the page down dramatically, especially if you have thousands of records in your account. Feel free to toggle this and see if it works for you, and if you find it's just too slow, then turn it back off. The fourth option is to hide our Crypt Keeper logo when a guest web visitor comes on to view your data. If you uncheck the box, guest visitors will see the same logo you see in the upper right corner of the page, and may be confusing to some web visitors. We recommend you use this checkbox, but feel free to toggle and see how it looks either way. The fifth option is to enable a feature for those that have created maps so that you can open a data record and then use a link from that page to highlight the grave on the map for easy viewing. If a match is found, the grave on the map is colored purple to make it easy to find. If you do not have a map, or do not intend to use a map, then leave this option unchecked. The sixth option is to define data fields that would be either visible or hidden to guest visitors. Click on the link in this section to edit this option. These are all the data fields from the database that are able to be hidden to guest visitors. Note that any custom data fields that you created aren't shown here because that feature is handled in a different area and was covered previously in this video. Check the box next to any data fields you want hidden to guest visitors and then click on the Save button. If you change your mind, just come back and uncheck boxes and save again. The seventh option defines how you want your search results to appear. Click on the link in this option to configure. You can set the sort order for results with the boxes on the left of the data field names by setting numeric values from 1 through 99. Check the box next to the data field name to be included in search results. Only checked items will be included in the search grid, but of course when you get to the data record you can see all this data. By trimming the search result criteria, it can often be easier to read and faster for data to be delivered to you. Be sure to click the Save button when you're finished making changes here. The eighth option is for configuring the landing page of your guest visitors when they click the Logout menu. Most times you'll want them to be returned to your own organization's website, so you would most likely want to put that here. If you do not configure a return URL here, then when the guest visitor clicks on the logout menu, they will be redirected to our own login page, which may be confusing to guest visitors. The ninth option is for internal record keeping. Here we let you know how many records you have in your account that are assigned with a date of death that is older than 90 days from the current date, but no date of interment yet assigned. This could be for any number of reasons. Perhaps date of interment is not important to you, and you don't use the mapping feature. In that case, don't worry about this. But if you do use the mapping feature and don't use the date of interment, then you won't get valid colors of your map, so you could use this button to force a date of interment that is 7 days following date of death. This is completely optional and cannot be undone once processed. If you're cautious, contact us before using this feature. At the bottom of this page is the Save button. This is important. If you make any checkbox changes or add a logout URL, you need to click this button to keep those changes. Additionally, there is a checkbox at the bottom of the page. If you have a custom map created and find any issues where something isn't displaying quite right, click this box and it will clear the server cache for your map display so that it is forced to recalculate the map from scratch the next time you go in to view the map, which should clear up any issues. This isn't something you'll have to use often, if ever. And that should do it. With these configurations, you're now ready to fully dig into your account. If you still have questions on any features after this, just click on the contact menu and we'll do our best to answer you.